you found a deck that you like from a creator that you've been watching. You liked the video, you subscribed. Can't click that button. And you went to Moxfield and you got the deck list and you exported the video for MTGA. Then you imported it in. And you got this deck that you didn't build. You don't even know how to pilot it. How do you go about piloting such a deck? Those are the things we're going to break down today, and let's get into it. You try out the deck and then you go 1-9, and you're like, what did I do wrong? And the person in the video that you watched, they're a really great creator and they have pretty good magic skills, and they went 4-1 with the deck, and maybe they got lucky, maybe you got unlucky, maybe you just didn't know how to pilot the deck. So let's break down kind of the concept of the deck. Maybe I can explain this a little bit better, and then we'll do play some games, and maybe I can explain it situational, what we can do. So this deck is the Bygone Colossus Fling deck, right? So we're going to warp in the Colossus for 3 mana. Hopefully we're going to attack in either with the Dowsing Device or the Fullborn, so that's 4 mana, and then we can fling it for 5 mana. It's kind of the idea. So that's the sweet spot. Obviously we have treasures that we can use. If the opponent wants to give us lander tokens, we could utilize those. We'll just get cards. We are playing 17 lands, so it is kind of rough to get to 5, but that's kind of the concept of the deck. Most likely we could just get to 4 and we could finish them off some other way. We have trample effects, right? The Colossus doesn't have trample, so we have the Fullborn to give it trample when it's warped. We have the Dreadmaw's Ire to give it trample. We have the Become Brutes to give it trample. We have, creature control with Abrade and Burst Lightning. When you're looking at the deck, you're like, what are all these other cards doing? So we have the Man Answers and the Lattice for card draw in this deck, right? And the Man Answers, you can sacrifice an artifact, and the Lattice is an artifact, so you can discard a card with the Lattice, and then if the Lattice is out and you get the Man's Answers, obviously if you get the Man Answers first and then the Lattice, you have to sack a land, discard a card rather. So but we do have some other artifacts that are speckled in, and that's kind of why we have it. Chrome Companion's in there for the exile effect. The Wanderglyph allows you to, cycle your lands out or whatever, discard a card, draw a card when it becomes tapped. It's also, a sack target, for the demand answers type of situation, good blocker type of thing. Maybe there's better cards. And so that's one of the things when you're looking at a deck. Self-Destruct is just another fling. When you're looking at a deck, maybe these 3 cards are suspect, right? So maybe you should change those cards. Maybe you could just, make them into 3 lands. Maybe they don't work for you because you don't, you didn't build a deck. You don't know how you're doing. Maybe more Piggy Banks is a good idea, right? Maybe, we shouldn't worry about graveyard, right? So, whenever we run up against a graveyard deck, 1 card in there isn't going to make or break, right? The Gingerbrute, it's able to be unblockable, and, we could push through maybe the last bits of damage type of situation where you have the Grotto, the Geode Grotto, where you pay, basically it's 4 mana, and you give something, plus X plus 0. And hey, so if, if you want to simplify the deck, when you look at someone's deck, you might even be like Self-Destruct. Why is that in there? Why do we need that? It is an instant speed fling. And so that's, it almost maybe is better than the Callous Sell-Sword. So maybe you want to do like 2 of those, right? I think this one can't be, the creature can't be killed. Target creature. Nope, the creature can still be killed. Target creature. Yep. So maybe Self-Destruct is better than the Sell-Sword, right? So those are kind of decisions that you want to make. maybe we go one less cavalry and go to 3 dowsing devices, but then you're starting to remove creatures from your deck. Right now we have 18 creatures, so those are things that you need to look at, right? So if you went down on 1 cavalry, went up to 4 dowsing devices, it's pretty good. Works with the Piggy Bank, works with the Intimidator, works with the Gingerbrute. The dowsing device works with this as well. So, might as well say, yeah, let's do it, right? And now you have this Dwarven the Berserker, and you're like, oh, should we even keep it in there? Do we need 5 fling effects? Or we only have 4 Colossuses? Well, you can use a fling on the Intimidator, that's a 4/3. You can use it on the Piggy Bank, that's 3, and just 3 damage, pump it up. We don't have any dinosaurs in the deck. Maybe Saheeli's Lattice is a bad answer, and maybe just go all demand answers type of situation. But maybe you try to squeeze in a dinosaur. There's the one dinosaur, the Yearling. That's a pretty good thing. And so when you craft this with 1 or more dinosaurs, equal to the total power of the exiled cards. So you can make this a 3/4 or a 6/4 if you put in a couple dinosaurs. Or maybe you put in like this dinosaur where opponents can't gain life, right? Where it's just a nice 4/3 body. I don't think there's any artifact dinosaurs. And this is a budget build. So, stuff like Draconosaurus Rex and, whatever else, non-rares, right? We're not playing rares in this deck. So if you had the rares, you could be like, well, I could just add a Trumpeting Carnosaur. And now you want to be cautious of the curve. It says 2.4, but if we take out these 4 cards, which are, skewing the numbers, we're at 1.7, actually. And we could actually get an even closer number if we go with, if we put in a mana value of 3, because that's what the Bygone Colossus is. So we're at a 1.8 average, so you're aware. So that's why we're able to go down to 17 lands, because basically we only need 1 or 2 lands. 2 lands basically to cast everything in the deck, and obviously to do the combo we need more lands, but the treasures help with that. So those would be like kind of the things I would look at when I get a deck from someone else. I don't normally do that. Normally I'm making my own decks, right? But you can look at some things and you can clean things up and maybe make it better. So then you want to be like, well, maybe we should just, maybe there's a better draw and discard and draw card, right? That's we're doing common, uncommon. And that's where like that artifact creature is pretty good, right? Because he can attack in, discard and draw. There's also like treasure, but I think the treasure one is 3 mana, and it's not instant speed. You could do artifact. So maybe we do want this guy. Maybe we do want the Wanderglyph, but maybe we want it in replacing the Lattice, right? So then we get an extra creature out of the deal. Sure, the opponent can kill it, but whenever it attacks, whenever it becomes tapped, you can discard a card, draw a card. It's not as good as the Lattice. You don't get card advantage. You're just cycling cards type of situation. Would that be something you could look at? So there's this new artifact, the Melded Moxite, which is even better, right? You can discard a card, draw 2 cards, and then you can sack it to make a token. So this is probably even better than the Wanderglyph. Sometimes new cards come out, and this is better than the Lattice since we're not playing dinosaurs. It does the same thing as the Lattice, but we can actually get a creature from it. Type of situation. So those would be the things I'd kind of look at is when you get a deck, just kind of go through it and see, what are the cards? Like, is there something that gives haste? We want type creature, and we want haste, and target probably. So you want target creature. Target creature gets haste. That's what we have. But then we want artifact, right? So these are both 3 mana. These would probably be better solutions, but they're 3 mana. but they are artifacts which help out for the Dowsing Device, right? So if we put 2 of those in, then we're going to have to look at the... Or actually, it's just 1. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. We only have 1 3-drop. That's our only 3-drop. So maybe it's good. There's also this one. Activates a sorcery. It doesn't. I don't think really the speed matters. This is if you're more aggressive, right? Type of situation where this can come out on turn 3 and attack, and then maybe on turn 4 you use it. But this could pump up something on the next turn. Yeah, let's refresh. So those would kind of be the things that I would look at. We have a really weird curve on this deck. These are 1s actually, so that helps out. So the Self-Destruct costing 2 mana is a little bit bad, right? When you start to look at it, because then you need 3, 4, 5, 6 to give it haste. So you start to make those changes, and you want to look at that mana curve and what you're actually trying to do with it. So I would, this is good, if you use it on the Intimidator or some other creature, but if you're not using it for a combo, it's not as good type of situation. Yeah, so let's get into some games and see if we can kind of explain choices that we make as we go. And we'll play with this deck, I guess, version 2. Cleaned up version. 17 lands. Oh yeah, I wanted to look at the land count. Let's look at the mana base with all those changes, right? So we're at 1.9, so we're close to a 2 now, with just, changing out the Turbodrone. Is it? 1.8, wow, that's a big change. I think we'll try it. 2-2. Where's the 3? 2-3. Alright. So first thing that we need to do is, we need to mulligan? We have 2 lands in our hand, that's all we need for the whole game, right? Maybe we need a little bit more, so I think this is a keep. We got a Dowsing Device, we got an Intimidator. I think you want that Dowsing Device first. Obviously, if we're playing Landfall, we're going to need to Abrade something. We drew our 3rd land, which is excellent. Now we're just looking for a 4th land. And we already have haste on the thing, so we're just looking for... They could have Counterspell Magic. Sorry, I just flung that out there. We're playing Blue-White Control, which is probably our worst matchup. Good luck winning this one. I think we'll just put this out, and then they can counter this. So now we're going to look for some more counter pieces. They probably have a removal spell or a bounce spell, so I assume they're just going to put the counters on. So they have 4 cards left in their hand. And now they got some more cards. So we're just looking for a haste. So this is Omniscience combo deck. So we missed our... So we could go with the Moxite. So we missed the land. But I think we're going to go with the Intimidator. And hope they give us the lander tokens. They did not. I'm going to go for this map token and try to get an extra land. We don't need a 3rd one, I don't think. Type of situation. So Self-Destruct, we just need 5 mana. Of course, why would you not have 2 Get Lost in your top 30, cards? Melded Moxite, the Abrade. I don't know what to discard here. Now this is, what should we discard? That's the decision. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a Colossus, even though we got rid of one of them. I don't think we're going to win this game anyway. They're just going to have a counterspell, and there's nothing we could do. We can't even get pressure on them. So, most likely they're going to have counterspell. We do, with 1 more mana, we do have the combo. This is 3 mana to change over, so now that Overlord's impending, I think we're going to... Oh. I think we want... So we could go for the Colossus right now, but they have 3 cards left in their hand. We're going to need to Abrade. So I think we're going to... I don't know if we should have made the token there. That's probably a mistake. But I think we're going to Abrade the Overlord. And maybe we should have went for it there. I don't know. I'm assuming they have stuff. There you go. They had a counterspell. And they're going to get more spells. So it's going to be really hard to resolve this against this opponent. So on their end step, we can kill their Overlord. So they're going to combo off with Omniscience. And there's nothing we can do with that. Can't stop that. So depending on what they have in their hand, we might be good. We do have the mana, and we have the Fling. So hopefully they have a counterspell or something. Let's go for it. It's now or never. Okay, now we fling it. They resolved Omniscience, and they didn't have a counterspell. I don't know if that really explains what we're doing, but, that one turn that we... Yeah, I did. So that one turn where we didn't do anything, and they used their counterspell to draw cards, was where if we would have went for it, they would have countered it, right? So, waiting and knowing when to wait and try to draw out stuff to be like, we transformed this robot, we're digging for lands, we're not doing anything. We held up the Abrade to kill their blocker, even though I don't think it would have mattered because we still had trample and we did, they're at -6. But that did show us that if they had a counterspell, they might have tried to save it, right? Like, we had nothing on the board. This is what we had on the board. They shouldn't be scared of dying from 20 life, right? So, let's try one more. See if I can explain some more. So this one mana. Do we keep or do we mulligan? We drew 3 Colossuses. That is the one sign that the shuffler is jacked up, and we need to mulligan this because we're never going to get to a second land. Type of thing. We got 1 land again. I don't know if we can go down 1 more. We do have a Moxite in our hand, so we do draw land. I think we're okay. Become Brutes. Probably what we ship. I mean, we could ship the Colossus and just say that this is going to be a beat 'em up game, and we'll draw another Colossus. I mean, right? Right? I mean, we're worried about mana, type of thing. We're not really worried about the combo. Like, we're probably going to lose this game just because we had to take a double mulligan. Or it took a single mulligan. We could probably just scoop this game up. when we Moxite, when we get our next land, I think we're going to get rid of one of the Fullborns. So even though we shipped the Colossus, we still got another one. I mean, maybe we should have mulliganed the second time, and, you know, just to be like, we need 2 lands, but... So I think we're going to ship a Fullborn, I think. Or maybe we ship they become brutes now that we drew a Colossus. So that way if we draw another Colossus and we actually get to 4 mana, their landfall deck? We have the combo in hand, we just need 5 mana. We have 1 mana. So, yeah. And they have 5 mana. I think we could just scoop this one up. We're going to draw one more card, but you could tell from, like, that's why I don't really mulligan my hands, is because when you know, obviously that 3 Colossus and 1 land was a mulligan, but normally when you have other crappier hands or other hands, just mulligan and you're just down a card and, you know, it doesn't matter anyway. So they hit a random encounter and they got lethal. Perfect lethal. We played 1 land. That is magic, and this is the matchmaker saying you need to lose. Awesome. Will this happen if we didn't have 17 lands? Yes, it definitely could. Should we have taken a second mulligan? Probably. So this is a much better looking hand. We have no creatures in our hand. Which isn't very good, but we do have 1 bit of removal, and I don't know. Now we have 4 lands. We go from drawing 1 land to 4 lands. So we are a 17 land deck, and we have a 50% land draw. That is a tell right there. I think we're gonna demand answers. We probably should kill the elf, but I don't know. Probably most likely you should bolt the bird, right? Kill the elf, because now they're gonna get 4 mana. But now we can kill Bristly Bill because we waited. Excellent. Maybe they have protection spell up though, but there's nothing you can do. You can't react to Bristly Bill. We got a creature finally. We do have the combo, and we just need 1 land. So, that being said, we demand answers and get rid of the Dreadmaw's Ire. I'm just going to pass the turn, because we played our land for the turn. And this way, we'll get stops along the way, because we have an instant spell that we can cast. So they'll think we have another removal spell. They don't have any lands in the graveyard. They're going to play a land, though. And then they'll mill a card. And if they mill a land, oh, they got the perfect land. Maybe we should have demand answers right there in response. Let's demand answers. I don't think we don't have anything that does 1. I don't think it matters. If we had something that we could cast, then maybe. We just need to survive. We're gonna ditch the Dreadmaw's Ire. We need to survive 2 turns. Because we went second, I guess. I don't know. I think we're just dead, though. I don't think there's anything we could do. We have to draw another Colossus? I don't even think it matters. 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if they play 2 lands, we're just dead. So we're dead next turn. There's nothing we could do about it. We went second. Guess now we have a blocker. They don't have trample. Maybe we could still win. They probably have a removal spell. I wouldn't be surprised to get +2 counters on it. We do have one full bore that we could use to try to protect. I'm gonna assume he's dead. Another Ice-Till Explorer. I assume they're gonna put counters on the Ice-Till Explorer? Oh, they just have like a overrun effect, probably. Oh, they don't have the mana though. They might have miscalculated. I don't know if we lose. We will have an extra mana, so we can double full bore. I'm gonna save the full bore in case we need it to survive. Wow, this deck is so dumb to play. They might have like just a bolt, like a lightning strike, 2 damage effect. They're playing cheap lands. They're not playing Fables. That's the problem with a budget mana base. You should be playing Fables. If you're playing Fables, those lands would be coming in untapped. Okay, they're finally starting to realize that they're pumping the other guy. 5, 6 damage. I mean, if they have a Monstrous Rage or Trample somehow, then I mean, there's nothing we could do. But they only have red mana up, so we'll take it all the way. We're gonna do our nice block on our Intimidator. We'll block the 10 damage. We're going to go for the win next turn. Alright, we're still alive. Crack this at the end step. So you want to make sure it's the end step. It says my turn. Crack this. Get a land. They have 1 mana up. That's it. We're going for the win. Colossus. Fullborn. Attack in. The lander tokens was a mistake on their part. Fullborn. Boom, boom. 15 to the face. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go back to my room. We're patient. We, let the opponent make the mistakes. Right? I think it doesn't really matter. Well, they would have been at 0. We would have had Xaxes without the double, without the extra land. So even if they put the +1 counters on the Intimidator and didn't give us the lander tokens, we still would have killed them because that was only an extra 3 damage, right? 3 and then 3 from the Fling type of situation. So it's just about being patient and not drawing only 1 land type of situation. So, you just have to mitigate, try to stay alive long enough to get to 5 lands and the combo, right, type of situation. And, we utilized our demand answers to, dig, and we kept the land in our hand. We got rid of the ire, just smart cards, discarding smart cards type of situation. We got lucky by being able to draw a creature to keep us alive. Obviously, if we didn't do that, we probably would have tried to go with the Colossus Fullborn with 1 less mana. Well, we had 2 mana. We wouldn't have had enough, but, it would have been, that's what we would have had to do. Sell-Sword we can cast with treasures. Yeah, that's all I have, I guess. I don't know what else to say. The Gingerbrute is a good blocker as well, as you could block and sack it to gain life type of situation. Obviously, the landfall deck is pretty good. If he would have had Trample or some, he used his 1 effect that gave Trample to save Bristly Bill, which if he didn't have Bristly Bill, he wouldn't have had a 10 guy. So, that was the only thing he had to save type of situation. So those are the things that I would look at when I go to play someone else's deck. Is I would review kind of the cards in the deck, and Magic's all about making the deck your own and doing things that work for you, right? Like you might be like, the Gingerbrute doesn't make sense to me. I'm never gonna hold back the Gingerbrute as a blocker, as a jump blocker. So maybe you just want haste, mana value 1 creature. Maybe you just want a Clockwork Percussionist, which is also a great creature, right? When it dies, you get it to exile a card and you get to play it. But if you hit a Bygone Colossus, that's a bad exile But if you hit anything else, maybe not the full bore or the Sell-Sword, so you could hit something at random, not so good. Also, the Firebrand is a pretty good creature as well, right? Where you could keep this back as a blocker, and then you could sack it to do 1 damage to someone. So maybe, but then that's still, you're keeping it back as a blocker. But this could, kill the Llanowar Elves type of situation. Or if you're looking for, I was kind of looking for like a 2 damage, 2 power creature. I mean, I really do love the Lackey, but, like I would, just kind of search out things. The Effigy, I'm not too big on. Type of situation, you don't want to have to recast it. We're such tightwads on the mana base. Like you could probably take the Gingerbrute out and go to 18 lands. You could probably take, the Turbodrone and go to 18 lands, 19 lands if you wanted to. But I do like having multiple hasty things, and having creatures are good blockers, right? Then maybe, that could be a creature that gives haste could keep you alive, right? Where instead of it giving haste, it's keeping you alive type of situation. But I hope that kind of helps out with being able to pilot this deck. Or, I don't know, I just want to show you some more wins, I guess. Type of thing. You only lose when you draw 1 land. So, yeah, this has been Told. Like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Do.